So, I know there has been a bit of despair among some fans of some characters lately. I know Usopp fans and Frankie fans are a little left out. They're feeling a little left out. We're finally in Elbaf. There's going to be, it's been a dream of Usopp to go here, and then we just had Egghead where Frankie fans were really expecting a power-up for our boy because, the island of technology. So it only would make sense for him to get something there, right? Well, I have good news for Frankie fans. Hello, Internet. I am the hero of Julios, once again with another One Piece chapter summary. This week's chapter is chapter 1176, With Pride. The art this week is just a lovely color spread of the entire crew. We're just getting this art from Oda. I'm pretty sure it's in celebration of the One Piece Season 2 for the live action that's coming out. I think there's a promotional poster that's similar to the drawing that Oda made. Regardless, that's pretty much what we have for art this week. So, the chapter itself starts off with Loki just wrecking everything. He's blasting his lightning, there's fire everywhere, it's pretty crazy over there. And Frankie, watching it go down, is kind of just like, that's some wild stuff happening over there. Anyways, Lilith, what are we doing? And Lilith is digging through the box that they brought Vegapunk's clone in. And Frankie even brings that up. He's like, doesn't that have Vegapunk in it? And she's like, yeah, he's in here somewhere. And she pulls out these disc-looking things. They are called the Omni-Drain Converters, or the ODCs for short. And she's like, this is what I've been looking for. Have you not noticed, Frankie, as he's staring at her quizzically, that this entire area of Elbaf, I think the flotation technology will work here, which actually makes sense if you think about it, because there's island clouds in Elbaf, which it's a very specific climate required for island clouds to exist anywhere that isn't up in the White Sea, because up in Skypia or other islands, Sky Islands, things like that, that's where the clouds are solid enough to walk on. But when technology like that, or natural phenomena like that, reach a certain altitude going down, they dissipate and become normal clouds. As a result, things like Vegapunk's levitation technology doesn't work anywhere outside of a climate-controlled area like Egghead. Elbaf, however, seems to have its own level of energy to it, and as a result, Lilith believes that whatever these are, they'll work. Lilith proceeds to tell Frankie, all around us is energy. Have you ever wondered if you could power yourself with something a little stronger than cola? And while she's telling him this, Frankie's just kind of tilting his head confused. And if you look closely on the panel, it's absolutely adorable. So at the start of the conversation, Bonnie's just sitting on his head. But as the conversation continues, Frankie's tilting his head. Bonnie's still sitting on his head even further, till he's at a 90-degree angle, and you just see Bonnie sitting atop his head with her hair just dangling. It's funny. I like that Oda still has Bonnie around. I'm glad that Bonnie just gets to be a kid in all this now. So, anyways, that's pretty much where we leave off there. Then we move on to the fire. So, we've been freed of the thorns and the ropes and everything, so there's nothing keeping the Straw Hat crew down. That means the giant inferno that is the library needs to be taken care of. So Saul is currently injured. Robin and Sanji are looking him over as Nami starts filling Zeus with water via the Climatact, via the local, water around, however we do it. But Zeus is getting big. And the reason Zeus is getting big is because Nami is unleashing a new technique that she and Zeus call the downpour tempo. And yeah, it's exactly as it sounds. Zeus is just above the entire area and just drenches it in a downpour, which is a great way to get rid of fire. And typically water beats fire. Anyone who plays Pokemon will tell you that. Unfortunately, even though water beats fire, water is defeated by Giant Lizard. So, as one knows. Because of this, Killingham summons a creature called a Lindworm. It's a nightmare creature, big Lindworm. From what I saw, mythologically speaking, a Lindworm is, I think it's Norse, mythology, because that seems to still be the theme we're on here. But what it does is anytime it lays on something, it increases either its value or its quantity, which is actually what led to the belief that dragons hoarded gold, because if a dragon slept atop the gold, then the gold would multiply or become more valuable, however it, was perceived, which then evolved into our, European understanding of dragons hoarding shiny objects. So as this giant lindworm eats Zeus, we are once again without water, and sadly there wasn't enough water to put out the fire instantly. It's not like it is an anime, so it is like in the cartoons, but it's not like in the cartoons where, a spray bottle takes out an inferno. So now that the lindworm has eaten Zeus, it seems like all hope is lost. There's no way to get rid of all of this water or get rid of all of this fire. We don't have enough water to do so. Until the ODCs show up. The little disc things from earlier, they come flying through the area and they absorb the heat energy. That is the exact words that Lilith used, was heat energy, not fire, heat. Because remember, for those of you who paid attention in science class, which I didn't, but I know enough, energy, there's like hundreds of different types of energy. There's kinetic energy, there's like heat energy, there's the energy in our cells that power our bodies, whatever. So this seems to absorb said energy. And because there is no heat energy, all that is left is cold, which then immediately flash freezes the entire area, getting rid of the fire instantly. So as these discs leave the scene of the freezing, they return to Lilith, where she then takes a bottle, sticks it onto the device, and turns all of that heat energy into a liquid, I guess. Because again, energy has to go somewhere. And with this bottle, she just tosses it to Frankie, and Frankie looks at it and it's shaking. It looks like it's ready to burst. And she goes, "I would like to give you the bottle of Vega Cola," as they call it. It should increase your power immensely. It is basically it's a stronger fuel source. We are going nuclear on Frankie. And yeah, with that, you see this glint in her eye as she is just ready to see what it does to him. As Frankie looks visibly uncomfortable, but he's gonna do it. So, mind you, it has been a long time since we have seen Frankie use anything other than cola. In fact, I believe we haven't seen Frankie use a different fuel source since pre-time skip. We saw how, veggie juice made his punches weaker and how tea made him turn into a relaxed farmer. But we've never actually seen a more potent fuel source in him than the delicious beverage known as cola. So as Frankie is, pondering this new power-up, probably putting it in his body as this event is occurring, Jinbei hops into the water, preparing to take out the lindworm in order to free Zeus, because even though, yes, the fire is taken care of, Zeus is still in the jaws of the beast, and for better or worse, Zeus is technically a member of the Straw Hat crew now, because Luffy is Nami's captain, and Zeus is Nami's subordinate, so he is a member of the Straw Hat crew by default. Which actually, if we go by the laws of marriage and subordination, that means Big Mom is a subordinate of Luffy, because her subordinate is Nami's subordinate, which makes these two equals. And since Luffy's above Nami, anyways, long story short, Zeus is in trouble. Jinbei's gonna save him. So Jinbei jumps into the water, and that's when Killingham finally notices Jinbei. And he even goes as far as to say, "Oh my gosh, a disgusting fish man. That is horrible. I'm so glad I'm wearing my helmet right now." Yeah, Celestial Dragon. Honestly, Killingham, I'm a little disappointed in you. You seemed like such a silly guy when we first met you, but you're absolutely horrible. But that's okay, because Sanji agrees, and Sanji even tells him, first of all, that is a former warlord of the Seven Seas, Jinbei, first son of the sea. And second, that's a member of our crew. So, because of those crimes of insulting him and forgetting who he is, I'm going to have to pop that bubble. And Sanji prepares his Ifrit Janbei to go take care of that. Jinbei prepares, a secret technique of fishman karate. And meanwhile, Frankie leaps 50 feet into the air because Vega Cola has buffed him so much he feels like he could destroy anything. So he takes a super strong Dexter, I believe he calls it. And he hits the Lindworm right in the face. And Jinbei hits the Lindworm with the Vagabond drill. And the force of the attacks combined free Zeus in this elaborate display. All the while, Ifrit Jinbei Concusseur hits right on the head as Killingham's bubble is popped. And presumably, he is taken out of commission. Now, mind you, as of this chapter, Sanji does not have Conqueror's Haki. So it's not going to be like Sommers where Luffy just erased him from existence. But this could be quite the number, and it might take him a bit to regenerate. We're not actually sure. Unless it turns out Sanji does innately have Conqueror's Haki, because let's face it, who would be shocked if the third highest, strongest member of the crew was actually a Conqueror's user of the future Pirate King's crew, because, you know, Scopper Gaban is kind of Sanji's, you know, parallel and all that. So, regardless, as of right now, Killingham is still in the green in terms of being in combat. It just might take him a bit to regenerate. But with this, Zeus is freed, the library's safe, the nightmare monsters aren't going to keep regenerating because the guy who was spawning them out is no longer here. So, taking those out, as Loki is currently erasing them one by one, really the only thing left is Domi Reversi, this big problem that we've had for numerous chapters, as we cut back to Zoro. And he's with, you know, Stanson, and he's with Haruden and Jarl, and it's no good. Everything they do doesn't work. These guys just keep regenerating, no matter how we hit them. It is at this moment, though, that Dory and Broggy start talking. A few chapters ago, Zoro had gotten the two of them to hit each other, and it caused these big gashes across them, and they both they were both, you know, just standing there. They have a moment of clarity, just like when Rox had a moment of clarity. Domi Reversi can waver, and allows the person who's trapped inside of this demon form to say something. Dory and Broggy look at each other, and Broggy says, "Dory, are you in there?" And Dory looks up at him. He says, "Yes, Broggy, I think I have a moment of clarity. It's a shame. We've been possessed, and we've said such horrible things to Jarl, and to do something as horrible as take his head would be a shame. It would shame our families for generations." I agree. There's only one thing left to do. If we are to die, we will die with pride, as the two of them decapitate each other, and their bodies fall to the ground. It is not the way I wanted things to go for Dory and Broggy. And apparently it's not the way that things were going to go for them anyway. As they are on the ground, decapitated mind you, we actually see the demonic circle of Domi Reversi appear around both of them and boop, boop, flip them over. And they both get up perfectly healthy. But also they are no longer demonically possessed. And they're as confused as I am, because they're perfectly fine, they're healthy, they don't have any damage on them, and they are no longer big demon monsters. And that is when they realize, and Stanson and Haruden realize, and Zoro realizes, and Jarl realizes, a fatal blow will end the Domi Reversi. And also apparently restore you to full health. So we really do need an explanation on Imu's powers, because I was trying to justify it, because my brother was looking over my shoulder as I was reading the chapter, and even he was like, "Okay, so shouldn't they not be alive anymore because they don't have heads?" And I was like, "Well, you know, the Domi Reversi restores their bodies." And he was like, "Well, if it restores their bodies, then how does it free them? Because they would still..." And the more I think about it, the more we really need an explanation on Eames' powers. But maybe what happens is because it's like an auto ability. It's just one that like Eam just makes it happen, and then Eam doesn't think about it. Because remember, with rocks, Eam transformed him and then just walked away. Like Eam didn't stick around to see what would happen. So maybe the regeneration is almost like a battery. And as far as like the deep contract, the deep contract, all that stuff with the celestial dragons and the five elders and all that jazz, that doesn't count towards what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about Domi Reversi. What if it's a battery? A battery that is designed for regeneration. And when you take a fatal blow, all of that regeneration gets used up. And since there's no more Domi Reversi, it's basically the last act of Domi Reversi is to heal you in hopes of making you continue on as a super soldier, only for it to not do that. It just heals you, runs out of power, and then you're back up. So that might be the best explanation I have right now, but I feel like this is going to be a question corner. This is definitely something for Oda later. Yeah, so, but with this revelation that a fatal blow will free you from Domi Reversi, these four giants, because Jarl isn't in this panel, these four giants and Zoro all kind of just look up at this army of demonic giants, and Dory goes, oh, so it's a fatal blow that saves them. And Bragi goes, yeah, a fatal blow that doesn't actually end their lives, it just frees them. And Haruden goes, oh, what a shame that we have to go all out against our friends and families. And Stanson goes, yeah, we can just go as crazy as we want. And no repercussions. And Zoro, who is bloodlust incarnate's like, that you hate to see it. What a terrible day for all of us. So, next chapter is just going to be Zoro going on a spree with Dory and Bragi and Haruden and Stanson. It's going to be fun. This does continue my question from last week, though. What are we afraid of anymore? How can we be afraid of Imu when everything is just going our way right now? There's only two possibilities here. Either this is Eam's moment of retreat, or Eam has something up his sleeve that we need to be afraid of. Either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, let me know in the comments below what you think Eam's trump card is going to be. What do you think that the alleged god of this world has in store that he's not worried? Because obviously Eam is a little upset about Nidhogg, about Loki's fruit, being here on Elbaf, but it doesn't seem like things are going Eam's way. But let me know what you think is going to happen, and thank you for watching as always. I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.